Hello everybody, welcome back to Culz Book Reviews. Today we're going to kind of be diving back into the world of Billy the Kid, or at least expanding it with a well-known character in the life, legend, mythology of Billy the Kid, and that being one, Pat Garrett, obviously the man who shot and killed Billy the Kid on that night in 1881 in Fort Sumner. But today we're going to be talking about the killing of Pat Garrett, the Wild West's most famous lawman, Murder or Self-Defense by David G. Thomas. Now, David we actually were lucky enough to meet when we were in Fort Sumner, and we really enjoyed his Grave of Billy the Kid, which, if you guys watch our video asking where's Billy buried, we used that book in there. So, really excited to check this one out. It's going to tie into a kind of bigger project we are working on. I was hoping to get out in February, but we'll be getting out shortly. It's a bigger undertaking than I thought, but we're working on it and I'm really excited to share that. But let's get into the book itself. Up top you see David G. Thomas, the author of the book, and then the title and subtitle, Killing Pat Garrett, the Wild West's most famous lawman, Murder or Self-Defense. And then you get this picture of Pat himself, and I gotta say, I always really enjoy, I don't know what it is about them. They're obviously really well designed because I do gravitate towards them. Whoever is doing the design work on the books, fantastic job, because they do always draw me in. On the side, we see the author David G. Thomas, Killing Pat Garrett, the Wild West's most famous lawman, Murder or Self-Defense. Now on the back, we see his wife holding the famed gun, and just a little bit about the book, including who killed him. Was it murder? Was it self-defense? On the bottom you can see Doc 45 Publishing, doc45.com, and it's part of the Mesilla Valley History series. And of course, there's your ISBN, 211 pages. Though there's an Appendix D, which is a timeline of events, so kind of cool to check that one out. As with his last book, and even maybe more so, this one has a ton of really good photos, be it the characters involved in the story, locations, graves, documents. I mean, David G. Thomas always, I think, delivers as far as it's a fun read, and you're going to get a lot of historical documents, and just great pictures, and great writing, and great insight into the character, time, or place that he is writing about. But let's get to my thoughts. So overall, I really enjoyed reading this. I think I learned a lot about Pat Garrett, especially post-Billy. I think a lot of times his story kind of just ends there. I've read some books where they do kind of try to tell you maybe a condensed version of what happened to Pat. But it is really kind of neat to see his story. Yeah, maybe not good with money, but as far as what he was set out to do, when he's out looking for somebody who's wanted, he goes and captures him. Sometimes there's some situations maybe didn't go according to what they should have. He definitely gets himself into trouble. There's a couple different court cases in here, as well as like Pat just not paying up when the court is like finding him and being like, you need to pay, and it's like a crazy amount of money today because there's an open loan that he just kind of like co-signed on, and yeah, it's kind of crazy there. Also, Pat Garrett was definitely a tall guy, but usually you don't get to see a picture of him near people to kind of see how big. And I know when I came across this picture, it's like, dang, it's almost like Andre the Giant type of height difference with the people around him. I mean, he's like a tall dude. Like, look at that. He is like almost a full head above the guys next to him. I think that's pretty crazy. Also a name you guys might recognize from maybe a different type of video, but Jesse Wayne Brazel, whose nephew finds the purported Roswell crash, definitely makes an appearance here because he's there and he confesses to the murder of Pat Garrett, which, like any good Wild West story, leads to conspiracies because, I mean, man, if you think it's just Jesse James and like Billy the Kid, Butch Cassidy, and some of these famous outlaws, no, like everybody there's conspiracies about. And I don't know what it is about the Wild West. I mean, even in this one, outside of like the Pat and who killed Pat and why they killed Pat conspiracy, there's a story about a guy, was captured and killed. And more recently, authors have speculated maybe he wasn't killed. And it's just like, why? Like, why does everyone have to not be killed? Like, why is history so different? And again, the bigger question, what is there to gain from the conspiracy? It's kind of like the flat earth stuff, like, what does the government actually gain from, like, the earth not being a globe? So, and here the conspiracy is who killed Pat? Was it Brazel? Was it a hired gun? Was it a couple other? There's a couple different people kind of purported, and David does discuss them. Also, it discusses, like, how was Pat killed? Was he indeed threatening Brazel? Jumped down to get his shotgun to shoot, and Brazel shot in self-defense? Was he shot in the back of the head while going to the bathroom? Those are some, questions that David looks at and uses, obviously, the reports of what they found at the scene and the wounds and stuff like that. But also, does that story kind of make sense? What did people think? Is that possible? If the shot came from here, would that have happened on a horse, on the ground, behind him, in front of him? That kind of stuff. Just good detective work, as per usual. We kind of expect that with David Thomas. And again, he delivers. You get to learn what brought him to Las Cruces. It was actually a kind of job brought him there, which was very interesting to me. You learn more about his family, Apollina, Lizzie, who was his daughter, who was blind. You also learn about the graves and how there was an abandoned kind of family grave plot that was moved to obviously where it is today. Also, some of the photos in here, I'm going to say, for as old as they are, really in fantastic quality. I mean, I don't know if it's the scans, they've been retouched, but they look like brand new photos. Like, you could have been taken on your phone. Like, they are that crisp. It is quite exceptional. Like, the quality of pictures you're getting in here, I was like, wow. Like, really taken, just really, like, amazed. I mean, technology is great. Like, speaking of pictures, it's really cool to see Pat Garrett there. He's the tallest one on the left. And Teddy Roosevelt with the Rough Riders here. And, of course, you get Tom Powers, which would kind of be a thorn in the relationship between Teddy and Pat Garrett in the long run. But kind of cool to get this picture of everyone together. And then, of course, there's the memorial marker where he actually was killed. And the reasoning as to why it is in that location. Also, the fact that it could be redeveloped, I mean, that was kind of crazy. Like, they tried to get it, like, marked for landmark, but it got refused, and I was like, what? Like, that's insane. So, hey, maybe, hopefully, by today, that's been fixed. I don't know, I'll have to do some more research. But if not, let's try to get that going, because, like, it's a part of history that's really cool to have a site. I mean, you go to different cities, like when we were in Fort Worth, Texas, you could actually see where the famed Fort Worth 5 picture of the Wild Bunch was taken. You can go to where Jesse James may have committed the first daylight bank robbery in Missouri. We've done that video. And of course, with Billy the Kid, you can go to his escape. There's stuff like that. So it's always really important, I think, to preserve history. And this book, much like the Billy one, I do highly recommend. I think, once again, a solid 8 out of 10. Really kind of a fun read. And one I do highly recommend because it's very informative. And if you need something, say you're researching Pat Garrett, you want to do an episode or something on Pat Garrett, go to these locations even just to know more history about what was going on, pick this one up. I mean, this is really good, especially because I don't think Pat Garrett gets a ton of love. There have been some bigger books. But of course, anything Pat related is going to be Pat killing Billy or Pat chasing Billy or whatever. It's not going to be his life. So I really found this fascinating. I do highly recommend it. Go pick it up. If you haven't picked up Billy the Kid's Grave, go pick that up. We got more to review. We'll definitely be checking out more of David Thomas's work this year. And hopefully meeting him again in September at that Billy event in Lincoln. Really excited to be going to that. But until next time, guys, for more Culz book reviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. If you do want to see more like Pat Garrett related stuff, click that link to your bottom left. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, A, do you have a favorite Pat Garrett book that we need to check out? And B, what's your favorite David Thomas book? Tell us in the comments below.